Ed, yeah, we're starting the recording right now. Thank you so much, Matthew. And let me just say one more time, for the sake of those who will watch the recording, this is a new mover mailer webinar. My name is Jake with Outreach. We're here with a great handful of people representing ministry and different churches and parishes all over the country. So first off, it's just an honor to be here with you guys. I just want to hear I want you to hear me say thank you for your faithful service to your local ministries, to your communities of faith. That it truly is the reason that outreach exists. And that's not just words for us. That's not just kind of a vision and mission that's on a wall somewhere. It really is the heartbeat behind our company. We talk about it all the time. We want you to know that we pray for you, like before and after many of our meetings where we're talking about product development and business goals and other things like that. We spend so much of that time just kind of bathing it in prayer and saying, okay, the reason for all of this is to support the church, to support the bride of Christ, and to help you guys proclaim Christ and him boldly. So we're honored just to spend the time with you. Again, the purpose of the call is to walk through just some of the logistics and some of the why and the vision behind New Mover postcards. Studies show that people are disproportionately more likely to engage or to re-engage with a spiritual community during seasons of transition. And one of the most significant and frequent seasons of transition that people face is when they move, making it really a prime time to target them with an invitation to your church. The way I always think about it is I moved to the small town I live in kind of central California. We moved here, my wife and my two kids, 8 years ago. And the way that I found myself articulating it to my wife, about a year into our move, or maybe 6 months, 8 months into the move, we found ourselves saying, it feels like nobody here needs new friends, but we need new friends. And it feels like we're the only ones who don't know like exactly where we belong or where we fit in. Where is our place that we're going to call home? Like, where is our community that we're going to say, okay, here's where we fit. Like, here's where our family goes. And the idea of New Movers is for us just to realize that every single month in a 5-mile radius or a 10-mile radius or a 2-mile radius around your church, every single month, there are dozens, if not hundreds of people, families, like new addresses, moving within that radius every month. And those are people and families who are wrestling with the same thing that I wrestled with, and wrestling with the same thing that many of you have felt at different times when you move into a new community. You're asking, okay, like, where do I belong? Where do I fit? Where do I go? What is community and family and belonging going to look like for us now in this new community? And it is in such a season that, like, who knows how powerful it could be just to get an 8.5 by 5.5 card from a friendly, warm church down the street, just saying, hey, like, we're here. We see that you've moved. We know that can be a hard season. We know that you might be looking for community. We just want to let you know we see you. We're here for you. We would love to have you come join us on a Sunday. So all that being said, that's the heart behind New Mover. It's extending a warm, hospitable invitation at what we believe could be just the perfect moment for someone to get it, where they are most likely to engage with your church. So with that being said, let me just go over here. I'm sharing my screen, so you should be seeing me scroll down here. And actually, I want to use kind of a real example. So over in the chat, could someone just put your church's address? Anybody calling for volunteers, put your church's address into the chat, and I'll copy and paste that, and we'll kind of use a real example to show us all what this looks like. And welcome. Still see a few people hopping into the call too. So welcome if you're just joining us. What we're doing is I'm sharing my screen to show what the ordering process looks like for a new mover. We'll talk through some of the details and logistics as we go. And right now I'm waiting for a volunteer to put a church address into the chat. I'll give it another minute. Oh, there we go. There's something from Jeff. Okay, Jeff wins. He beat us to the punch, but it's that word that's hard to say. Milledgeville, Georgia, 1023 Milledgeville Highway in Milledgeville, Georgia. And now here's where there's a little bit of flex. You put in your church's address, and then I'm not sure if you can see, there's a toggle window here where I can choose a radius between half a mile, so 0.5 miles, all the way up to 15 miles. If it's a more rural, spread out area, obviously fewer addresses, you're going to want to go with a larger radius. But if it's a more suburban or urban, densely populated area, you might want to go with a smaller radius because it's going to return more addresses. I'm going to click 10 because 5 or 10 miles is oftentimes a pretty good average for a lot of churches around that area, in my experience. So here's what that looks like. This is a 10-mile radius around the address that Jeff provided us with. I'm going to zoom out a little bit to kind of get a fuller scope of what that looks like. Very cool. You see a couple highway names in there. You see Lake Sinclair over here, Baldwin County Airport. Okay, so I want you to notice a few things on this page. First of all, in this main window, that is basically the map. And within the map, you should see what looks like puzzle pieces of these like bluish, purplish puzzles. Each of these is an individual mail carrying route, and they are all selectable and deselectable. And now I'm going to mess around with that a little bit, but as I do, if you direct your attention over to the right side of that little window, you'll see the average monthly cost up here at top right. That's assuming nonprofit postal rates, which not everybody has, but if you don't have it, we recommend you get it. We can help you do that too. So that enables you to get this 79 cents per card number. Without nonprofit postal rates, it's 99 cents per card. So if you're sending 20 cards, it's not a huge deal. But if you start sending like a good number of cards, it does add up and it makes a difference, especially for a recurring monthly cost. So that's 79 cents per card there. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see a couple important numbers. This map, so with all of these mail carrying routes selected, there is an average of 63, and that's family units, whether it's a single person or a married couple or a family. That's addresses. So 63 families on average move within this radius every month. To send a welcome piece of mail to 63 addresses costs $49.77 per month. This is a max, so that's the average. The maximum based on last year's data was 103 movers in a single month. So that was a really popular month. And that month, the cost would have been $81.37. And you might be wondering, what month was that? How do we tell? You just keep scrolling down and you see this kind of really helpful chart that tracks which months were more and less popular. It looks like November was the month when 103 people last year moved within 10 miles of your church. So interesting data points there just to acknowledge. And I want to be clear too, you can do all this by yourself as well, just logging on to outreach.com and then going to new mover. This is not like a secret kind of back end system. You can go here and just, if nothing else, kind of learn some stats about your local community. Looks like August you had 70, November you had 103. In April, not many people moved. There were 34 movers in April. So with, kind of having your whereabouts with you, knowing what you're looking at, you'll notice over here, you can customize this and get really hyper specific with how you want to target the areas around your church. You might think, okay, let's start with a 10-mile radius, but this is all kind of, just land with not a lot of houses. So let's deselect that. Let's deselect this. And as I do, you'll notice the numbers change in real time over on the right side of the screen. Or you say, let's narrow in a little bit from there, narrow in a little from there, however you want to do it. So I'll leave it kind of selected how it was with that 10-mile radius. Next step is really helpful for budget purposes. It gives the ability to put a cap on your monthly mailings. Because hypothetically, if you don't do a cap, we as a company, we're going to send mailers to every address that has new movers in it. So that means if for some reason 5,000 people moved within 10 miles of your church, which I know it probably never happened, obviously in this area, but if for some reason they did, our company would just send them mailers and we would charge you this big, massive bill for like a crazy popular month. So basically what you want to do is set a cap on this. And I recommend dragging this cap. So here's, where you drag that, toggle up and down. Just put it somewhere, maybe you want to put it right above the most popular month, or maybe you want to put it a little below the most popular month. You just want to put it somewhere where you're still going to capture all the people you want to capture, but you just have a ceiling. So you kind of have like this, safety net to say that if for some reason there was a crazy popular month, we're still guaranteed to never spend more than whatever amount you cap it at. So if 5,000 people moved, we would still just send it to 92 of them right there. And you would still just pay this amount, and there would be, 4,008 or whatever that is, who don't get the card. So let's put a cap on it. Next step is what we call multi-reach. Basically, this allows you to either send one piece of mail or two pieces of mail. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer here. We love to help churches think strategically on, okay, if you want to send two pieces of mail, how are you going to do that in a way that kind of, adds value? Like maybe get creative with it. Maybe do something sequential where you do different messaging on the first and then different messaging on the second. Or maybe you do the same messaging both times and you just say, okay, I think that hitting 2 touch points to the same people is going to be better than hitting 1 touch point. So a lot of ways that people think about this is, and again, for clarity, this is 2 postcards that will go to the same people. So around 30 to 45 days after someone moves in, they'll get the first postcard. And then about 2 weeks after that, they would get the second postcard. The way that we like to help people think through it is, would you rather, for example, would you rather send 100 people 1 postcard or 50 people 2 postcards? And that's where, again, there's just no right or wrong answer. I think people kind of vary on their own personal strategy on that. Sometimes more touch points to fewer people may end up being more effective. And sometimes fewer touch points to more people is what you're after. We can accommodate both. This next one is something we call Jumpstart. It's just extending your first month's mailing. So keep tracking with me. If you click yes, you can basically go back in time retroactively. And as part of your first month in the subscription, we would also send that first month mailer to people who have moved up to within the last 6 months. So you toggle this all the way to 6 months, and there's an extra 355 people that you're going to hit, because there's 355 who have moved 6 months prior. Or you can go down to 5 or 4 or 3, 2, 1 month. So you can add something there, or you can click no, don't extend my first month's mailings. When we start, let's just start with that month. Next step here, it's kind of, one of the funner parts, I think. Just scroll through here and pick a design. We have tons and tons of designs, and I think we have stuff that kind of caters to a lot of different styles and flavors, and also different messaging tones. And of course, if you scroll all the way down, give me a second to get there. There's some pretty good ones on here, like, a lot of things that just say like moving is hard, choosing a new church doesn't have to be. Picking a church will make it easier than picking a new paint color, or plenty of kind of fun options, funny options, more heartfelt sort of warm options, whatever you like. All the way at the bottom, you'll see new mover customer supplied. So that's where you can just upload your own design. For now, let me just click on this one for example. Whoops, I accidentally went back. Let me click on this one, for example. What are you doing on Sunday? It's a great one. Choose this design. Next step, and that drops you into basically the end of the ordering process. You can add that to your cart. There's a $0 setup fee. Today, your first month happens for free. And then it happens every month. So it's kind of a set it and forget it thing where we take care of the rest. There is no commitment or contracts or anything like that. So it's kind of a sign up anytime, cancel anytime. I'm trying to think through just a few sort of frequently asked questions. Number one is changing, updating. So if this is something you want to get involved in and you want to end up doing it every month, you might get to maybe October and you might think, let's do something different for Christmas season, which is awesome. We love, editing the design and the messaging. That needs to happen usually just between the 7th and the 14th of the previous month. And there's a $29.95 fee to do the change for our team and our designers to kind of process that change. One of my favorite things about the whole program is that every month you will get a list with the names and addresses of the recipients emailed to you. So you'll be able to see who got these cards. And then one of the coolest things that I see churches do with that list, Number one is they get really organic about how they're going to do outreach with that list. So they get this, really well-informed list of people who have just gotten this new mover invitation card in the mail, and they'll do something like, hey, let's go send a pizza like to these people, or hey, let's go to our community group leaders or directors or whatever, and let's say, hey, can you have your small groups invite these new people to their barbecue that they're having? So it's just a way to kind of get like really intentional and really smart about some of your local kind of face-to-face outreach. That's one thing they'll do with the list. Number two is they'll use it to really track the effectiveness of the program. So they'll take the list, they'll just throw it into like a Google sheet or a doc or something, and they'll run a side-by-side comparison with that list, just like a running comparison with that list and their newcomers list, or their first-time visitor connect booth list, or their membership class list, or something like that. So then you kind of just have this side by side, and you're able to see, okay, are any of these names ever showing up over here on these lists that track, on-campus engagement? And then you can see, okay, if none of these names are ever showing up over here, then gosh, yeah, let's cancel this. Like, that's not being effective. But I say that really confidently because we always see time after time that you will see these names, not all of them, but you will see some of them show up on these lists over here, which is what we want to see ultimately. So with that being said, I want to say that's it. There may be some things that I've forgotten, and so maybe some questions could kind of draw that out. But with that being said, that's the new mover. That's kind of how the process works. And if you guys want to, either in the chat window, you can type, or feel free to unmute your mic. Welcome to speak out and just let me know any questions you have, any comments, any ideas. Go for it. I'll leave it open for a minute.
Hey, Jake.
Hey, Deanna.
So if you supply your own design, does it have the dimensions of what those are, and like
Yep.
where you upload that?
Absolutely. I'm going to do something really quick. I'm going to pull up a website, and I'm going to drop the link into the chat window. It's outreach.com/custom art guide. And basically what that does is that's kind of where to go for templates, design templates for all of our products. But to find the new mover, so you could, if you're going to order a banner or, invite cards or whatever, for that, go to postcard templates, and then under postcard templates, there's one specifically called new mover. And we have a few templates that are pretty easy to go in and edit for Canva, for Photoshop, for Illustrator. So for most of kind of the main leading graphic design softwares.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? And I think I saw maybe one other team. Justin Rhodes is here too. Justin, I'm not sure if you're on a call or if you're hearing any of this. I mean, if you have any, if I missed anything, if there's any pro moves that you're seeing that you want to share, feel free. A couple things, just to reiterate, there is a minimum number. So, I mean, essentially kind of a break-even point for us where if we do less cards than this, it's just not gonna work out. So you'll see this down here, 1 or more months fall below our minimum monthly fee of $39.50. So that doesn't mean you can't do it. That just means there may be a month where technically you're paying for more than you're getting. So you kind of want to structure your map in such a way that you don't see this pink flag pop up down here. But for what it's worth, $39.50 is kind of that minimum for us, which I think equals about 50 cards with your nonprofit rates. So as you're tweaking this and looking at your numbers in your map, you'll want to make sure that, you know, these numbers basically every month is above 50 cards. And that's where we see here, it looks like there's a month or 2 months, 142 and one for 34, where we went below that minimum. So a lot of people ask, is there a minimum? And it is $39.50, which again, we're happy to send 20 cards if you want, but the charge will still be $39.50. Inverse question of that, is there a maximum? And I have not seen one. Not that I know of. We work with churches all over the country of all sizes. We work with churches that are right on that minimum number all the time, and we work with churches who have 20 campuses who are doing thousands of postcards at each campus, pretty often. So no minimum, or there is a minimum, essentially no maximum. And again, for timeline on this, you kind of just want to focus on the first half of the month before you want postcards to hit. Our sort of our deadline days are usually around the 14th of the previous month to have proofs and approvals and maps kind of worked out, and for us to give to get your 2 thumbs up on the whole order process is around the 14th. Always encouraged to work ahead. So that's just meaning at this point, we would be too late to get things in mailboxes for September. At this point later in August, you'd want to take the next few weeks and really consider, okay, do I want to pull the trigger on this or not? And if you do, start having conversations with some of us sooner than later. We could help you kind of decide on a map over the next couple weeks. And then we would really take the first week and a half of September to finalize all that, so that we can kind of, officially press the send button on our end about halfway through September. And so these would be ready to go for October. And that same timeline kind of applies for any changes or edits or updates. So if you want something different to go out in November promoting Christmas, we're going to need to be really focusing on that at the very beginning of October. Does that kind of make sense? I think so. Okay, just maybe one more minute. I'll kind of stay quiet. Oh, we've got a question. We have 2 colleges in my town. Is there a way to target mailing for new students in the dorms? Oh, what a great question, Jeff. A nuanced question. We talked about this before, and if someone's on the call who remembers the answer and could correct me, welcome to. I don't know the answer for sure, Jeff. I can find out, though. I want to say, and this is fuzzy in my memory, we can't send them to individual dorm rooms. But I want to say there's a way that we send it just to the college or to the dorm buildings or something like that. But yeah, great question. Let's dig in and find an answer to that I don't know off the top of my head. Yeah, we'll do. Perfect. Thanks for that email, Jeff. Yeah, we'll make a note of that. Great. Well, hey, hearing no more questions, I just want to say again, one more time, how thankful I am for you, for your ministry. If there's any interest in any of this to any of you, please, give us a holler anytime. You can reach any of us. Go to outreach.com. And you should, because you signed up for the webinar, there's a good chance you'll be hearing some, correspondence with some of our team as well. So with all of that, I just would love to, take the next 30 seconds and just kind of pray for you, give you a blessing as you go into your ministry. So allow me to pray for you. Lord, thank you so much for this time. Thanks for the moments we've shared. Thank you for the ways that you use very tangible, practical, logistical things like an 8.5 by 5.5 piece of paper with words and images printed on it. You use that to spur on life change. You use that to change people's eternities, because maybe that's a seed that you're planting that's going to turn them in a certain direction, or maybe that's the sort of the last the last straw for them, where there's been many seeds planted, and that's just what they needed to see at the right time, and they're going to end up stepping foot in their local church. So we have a ton of faith, and we believe in what you're going to do through these ministry leaders and through even potentially implementing this product. And if this isn't the right thing for them, God, would you give them clarity on that and show them what the right next step is for them in their outreach strategy at the church? God, bless them, keep them as they go. Would you create and bring about just amazing returns on the input that they're putting in to their ministry right now. God, we love you. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, everybody.